Welcome, weary traveler, to a quiet corner of the cosmos, a place where the universe whispers its secrets and the gentle hum of discovery lulls you into a peaceful slumber. Here, with The Sleepy Scientist, we don't rush through the wonders of the world. Instead, we invite them in, softly, allowing their grandeur to unfurl like a calming dream. Tonight, as you settle in, perhaps nestling deeper into your pillow or letting your eyes gently drift closed, we're going to embark on a journey that reveals a truly astonishing thought experiment. What if Earth suddenly stopped spinning? It's a question that brings forth images of our familiar world transformed in an instant, a reminder of the immense, hidden forces constantly at play beneath our feet and above our heads. As you relax, let your thoughts drift, much like the slow, steady turning of our Earth. Imagine the ground beneath you, seemingly so still and unwavering. It feels so permanent, doesn't it? So utterly unmoving. Yet, beneath that surface, and indeed, you yourself, along with everything on our planet, are hurtling through space at an astonishing speed. It's a breathtaking thought, isn't it? And it's this very thought that prompts our gentle inquiry tonight. We won't rush to the answers. Instead, we'll explore them with the same slow, deliberate pace that the Earth itself maintains on its cosmic journey. This isn't about memorizing facts. It's about understanding, about feeling the profound elegance of our planet's dynamic existence, and letting that understanding guide you towards a truly restful state. So, breathe deeply, let your muscles soften, and prepare to unravel one of the most fundamental mysteries of our physical world, not with effort, but with quiet curiosity. Our story, like many great scientific tales, begins with something incredibly fundamental, yet often unnoticed in our daily lives: the concept of inertia. Think of inertia as the universe's quiet insistence that things prefer to keep doing what they're already doing. If something is at rest, it wants to stay at rest. If something is moving, it wants to keep moving in a straight line at the same speed, unless a force acts upon it to change that motion. It's a foundational principle of physics, elegantly simple yet profoundly powerful, governing everything from a rolling ball to a planet in orbit. Now, consider our beautiful Earth. It's not simply floating motionless in space. Oh no. Our planet is constantly spinning on its axis, completing one full rotation roughly every 24 hours. At the equator, this rotational speed is truly astonishing. Approximately 1,037 miles per hour, or about 1,670 kilometers per hour. Even where you are, away from the equator, you're still moving at a very significant speed, perhaps hundreds of miles per hour, simply by virtue of being on the spinning surface of the Earth. And here's the crucial part. Everything on the surface of the Earth is also moving along with it, at that same incredible speed. That includes you, your bed, the room you're in, the building, the trees outside, the very air in the atmosphere, and the vast oceans. You don't feel this speed because you, and everything around you, are already moving at the same velocity, smoothly and consistently. It's like being on a train traveling at a constant speed. You don't feel the speed itself, only if the train suddenly accelerates or brakes. Now, imagine our thought experiment. What if the Earth were to suddenly and instantaneously stop spinning? Not gradually, not slowly slowing down over years, but in one impossible, breathtaking instant. If this were to happen, the principle of inertia would kick in with truly catastrophic consequences, because you, the buildings, the trees, the air, and the oceans were all moving along with the Earth at hundreds or even over 1,000 miles per hour, depending on your latitude. You and everything else would suddenly be flung eastward at that same tremendous speed. Think of it like being in a car traveling at freeway speeds, and the car instantly hits an immovable brick wall. Your body, still wanting to move forward at that speed, would be violently thrown out of the car. On a planetary scale, this would mean unimaginable forces. People, animals, cars, houses, entire cities, everything not bolted to the solid bedrock and beyond would be ripped from the ground and propelled eastward, tumbling and disintegrating from the sheer force. The sheer velocity would be enough to flatten almost any structure and cause unimaginable devastation across the globe. The closer you are to the equator, the faster your rotational speed, and therefore, the more extreme this initial throwing effect would be. At the poles, where the rotational speed is effectively zero, the immediate impact of the stop would be less about being thrown sideways and more about the subsequent, slower environmental changes. But for the vast majority of populated areas on Earth, the immediate consequence would be a cataclysmic, eastward-directed ejection. This immediate, violent expulsion is the very first and most dramatic secret of what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning. It's a natural, unavoidable consequence of the fundamental laws of motion that govern everything in our universe. It's a quiet testament to the Earth's inherent dynamism, continuously spinning and bestowing upon everything on its surface that silent, constant velocity. Let the image of our spinning blue marble and everything on its surface, silently imbued with its rotational energy, settle peacefully in your mind. This is the origin story of our thought experiment's first dramatic consequence, a journey that begins with the fundamental physics of our planetary home. Feel the quiet power of this hidden momentum, knowing that the very ground you stand on is part of a colossal, moving system. Rest deeply now, with the gentle turning of our planet and the silent concept of inertia, guiding you towards a truly peaceful slumber. Welcome back, peaceful traveler, as we continue our gentle exploration into what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning. In our last quiet chapter, we confronted the immediate, violent consequence of inertia, where everything on the surface would be flung eastward due to its retained momentum. Now, as you drift even deeper into your serene state, let us contemplate the terrifying spectacle that would unfold in the very air around us, the creation of super hurricane winds and the fiery devastation they would unleash upon our motionless planet. As you settle into your comfortable spot, feeling the quiet stillness of your surroundings, imagine the vast blanket of air that envelops our planet, the atmosphere, just like you and everything else on the ground. This entire ocean of air is also spinning along with the Earth. At the equator, the atmosphere is moving eastward at that astonishing speed of over 1,000 miles per hour. As you move away from the equator towards the poles, the rotational speed decreases, but it remains a considerable velocity everywhere except at the exact poles. Now, picture that impossible moment. The solid Earth beneath you instantly ceases its rotation, but the atmosphere, being a fluid and relatively unattached layer, would, due to its own inertia, attempt to continue its eastward journey at its original speed. Imagine the Earth suddenly becoming a stationary obstacle in the path of a colossal, super-fast river of air. The air would continue to rush past the newly motionless ground at speeds of hundreds, or even over 1,000 miles per hour, depending on the latitude. These wouldn't be mere winds. They would be super hurricane force winds on a global scale, far exceeding anything ever recorded in Earth's history. The fastest winds in Earth's strongest hurricanes typically reach speeds of around 150–200 miles per hour. But in our thought experiment, these winds would be 5, 6, even 10 times faster. Picture a continuous, planet-wide blast, a silent, all-encompassing roar of rushing air. The immediate effect of such winds would be unimaginable devastation. Everything not anchored deep into the planet's bedrock would be scoured clean from the surface. Trees would be stripped bare and shattered into splinters. Buildings, no matter how strongly constructed, would be instantly flattened and disintegrated by the sheer force of the moving air. Dust, debris, and the pulverized remnants of civilization would be swept into a colossal, turbulent eastward current, blurring the very landscape. But the horror wouldn't stop at physical destruction. The immense speed of these winds, rushing past a stationary surface, would generate incredible friction. This friction, in turn, would produce a colossal amount of heat. Imagine rubbing your hands together very, very quickly. They get warm, don't they? Now scale that up to a planetary level. The friction between the rapidly moving atmosphere and the suddenly still land and oceans would ignite widespread, instantaneous global wildfires. Forests would erupt into flames as the super-hot air rushed over them. Dry grasslands would burst into infernos. The very surface of the Earth, particularly in exposed areas, could reach temperatures capable of melting rock in some localized zones. A searing heat generated by the relentless friction. The sky itself would likely turn a fiery red and orange, not from a gentle sunset, but from the glowing embers and superheated air. This would create a suffocating, fiery maelstrom across the planet. The atmosphere, once a life-giving blanket, would become a destructive, scorching inferno. Breathing would be impossible, not just because of the lack of oxygen, which would still be present but moving too fast, but because the sheer force and heat of the rushing air would be lethal. Any creature, any plant, caught exposed on the surface would be instantly incinerated or ripped apart. Imagine, as you drift deeper into your restful state, the very air around you, usually so calm and life-sustaining, transforming into an unstoppable, scorching torrent. Picture a global firestorm, ignited by the friction of a suddenly halted world, sweeping across continents, leaving behind a scorched and desolate landscape. This quiet, terrifying vision of atmospheric inertia is the very second secret of what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning. It's a natural, unavoidable consequence of the fundamental laws of motion that govern everything in our universe, revealing the hidden power of the air we breathe. Let the image of our planet, suddenly stripped bare by unimaginable winds and engulfed in a global conflagration, settle peacefully in your mind. This is the origin story of our thought experiment's second dramatic consequence, a journey that begins with the fundamental physics of our planetary home. Feel the quiet power of this hidden momentum within the air, knowing that the very atmosphere above you is part of a colossal, moving system. Rest deeply now, with the gentle murmur of the silent, super-fast winds, guiding you towards a truly peaceful slumber. Welcome back, peaceful traveler, as we continue our gentle exploration into what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning. In our last quiet chapter, we confronted the terrifying spectacle of super hurricane winds igniting global wildfires as the atmosphere continued its eastward rush due to inertia. Now, as you drift even deeper into your serene state, let us turn our attention to the vast, shimmering surface of our planet. discovering the monstrous devastation that would be unleashed upon our oceans, the creation of colossal tsunamis that would sweep across continents. As you settle into your comfortable spot, feeling the quiet stillness of your surroundings, imagine the colossal bodies of water that cover more than 2/3 of our planet. The oceans, from the tranquil shallows to the deepest abysses, are not separate entities. They are vast, interconnected liquid layers, and just like the air above them, they are also spinning along with the solid earth beneath. At the equator, these immense bodies of water are moving eastward at the same incredible speed of over 1,000 miles per hour. Now, picture that impossible moment. Again, the solid land beneath you instantly grinds to a halt. The buildings, the mountains, the continents, they stop. But the vast, unconstrained oceans, due to their immense inertia and fluid nature, would continue to rush eastward at their original, terrifying speed. Imagine the Earth's continents suddenly becoming stationary walls in the path of a colossal, planet-wide liquid hammer. The immediate effect would be the generation of tsunamis of unimaginable scale. These wouldn't be like the tsunamis we occasionally see from underwater earthquakes, which are typically tens of feet high as they approach the coast. Instead, we're talking about waves hundreds, or even thousands, of feet high, depending on the depth of the ocean and the topography of the coastline. The water, propelled by its immense momentum, would literally peel away from the suddenly static ocean floor in the western parts of ocean basins and pile up in gargantuan walls of water, surging eastward. Think of it like a global bathtub where one side suddenly stops moving, and all the water sloshes violently to the other end. These colossal walls of water would sweep across entire continents, with their incredible height and immense volume. Coastal cities, no matter how elevated or fortified, would be instantly swallowed. The force of these tsunamis would be so immense that they would scour continents clean of anything in their path, extending thousands of miles inland. Mountains and hills that typically stand as barriers would be engulfed by the sheer height and power of the waves. The destructive power would be unprecedented. Anything caught in the path of these colossal waves, every building, every tree, every structure, and every living creature would be pulverized, ripped apart, and carried along by the relentless force of the water. The sheer volume and velocity of the water would reshape the very coastlines of continents, eroding vast swaths of land and redepositing sediment far inland. The familiar contours of our coastlines, shaped by millennia of gentle tides and erosion, would be dramatically and instantaneously resculpted by this watery cataclysm. As these gargantuan tsunamis swept eastward, they would eventually encounter the far side of the continents. Here, the water would crash into the land with unimaginable force, potentially piling up even higher before receding, only to create colossal backwash that would continue the cycle of destruction. The interplay of water and land would be a scene of utter, relentless chaos. Even after the initial waves subsided, the problem of the oceans wouldn't cease. With the Earth no longer spinning, the centrifugal force that causes the oceans and the Earth itself to bulge slightly at the equator would vanish. Over time, the Earth's gravity would slowly begin to reshape the planet into a more perfect sphere. This would cause the ocean waters to slowly migrate towards the newly formed equatorial bulge, which would now be along the new stationary equator and away from the poles. Eventually, this would likely result in two vast, deep oceans forming around the Earth's new poles, leaving a huge, dry landmass exposed around the former equator. But this would be a much slower, long-term change compared to the immediate, cataclysmic tsunamis. Imagine, as you drift deeper into your restful state, the vast, shimmering oceans, usually so calming and inviting, transforming into an unstoppable force of destruction. Picture colossal walls of water, stretching from horizon to horizon, sweeping across continents, erasing every trace of civilization in their path. This quiet, terrifying vision of oceanic inertia is the very third secret of what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning. It's a natural, unavoidable consequence of the fundamental laws of motion that govern everything in our universe, revealing the hidden power within the waters that sustain us. Let the image of our planet, its oceans unleashed in a furious, eastward surge, settling peacefully in your mind. This is the origin story of our thought experiment's third, dramatic consequence, a journey that begins with the fundamental physics of our planetary home. Feel the quiet power of this hidden momentum within the water, knowing that the very oceans above you are part of a colossal, moving system. Rest deeply now, with the gentle murmur of the silent, super-fast waves, guiding you towards a truly peaceful slumber. Welcome back, peaceful traveler, as we continue our gentle exploration into what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning. In our last quiet chapter, we confronted the terrifying spectacle of super hurricane winds igniting global wildfires and the monstrous tsunamis unleashed by the oceans, all due to the relentless force of inertia. Now, as you drift even deeper into your serene state, let us delve into the very ground beneath your feet, discovering the catastrophic consequences that would unfold within the Earth's solid and liquid layers, the shattering of continents, and the chaotic separation of its internal parts. As you settle into your comfortable spot, feeling the quiet stillness of your surroundings, imagine the Earth's majestic structure, once more the thin, brittle crust where we live, floating atop the thick, semi-fluid mantle, which itself encases the dense, liquid outer core and the solid inner core. Each of these layers is currently rotating in harmony, locked together by immense gravitational forces and the friction between them, spinning as one giant, cohesive entity. Now, picture that impossible moment again. The Earth's crust and mantle instantaneously cease their rotation. They grind to a sudden, impossible halt. But what about the deep interior? Remember that the outer core is a vast ocean of molten iron and nickel, a fluid layer. Fluids, by their very nature, are much less coupled to the solid layers around them. Due to its tremendous inertia, this colossal liquid outer core would attempt to continue spinning at its original hundreds of miles per hour velocity, even as the solid crust and mantle above it abruptly stop. This would create an unimaginable amount of shear force and friction at the boundary between the suddenly stationary mantle and the still spinning liquid outer core. Imagine trying to stop a giant, spinning ball of liquid metal from the outside while its interior still wants to whirl. The interface between these layers would become a zone of unimaginable grinding and tearing. This immense internal friction would generate an astronomical amount of heat, potentially causing further melting and disarray deep within the planet. But the most dramatic consequence for the surface would be the effect of this internal conflict on the already stressed crust. The sudden deceleration of the crust, coupled with the continued momentum of the liquid core below, would create unparalleled internal stresses and strains throughout the entire planet. The very fabric of the solid Earth would be subjected to forces it was never designed to withstand. This would lead to the shattering of continents. The colossal tectonic plates, which normally move slowly and gracefully, would experience forces that would tear them apart, rip them asunder along existing fault lines, and create countless new ones. Mountains would crumble, and new, immense rifts would open up across continents, exposing the fiery mantle below. Imagine the largest earthquakes in history, magnitudes far beyond anything ever recorded, occurring simultaneously across the globe. The ground would not just shake, it would literally fracture, buckle, and deform on a scale that would render landscapes unrecognizable. The sudden friction between the layers and the immense pressure releases would also trigger catastrophic volcanic activity on a global scale. Magma chambers would rupture, and new volcanoes would erupt across the planet, spewing ash and molten rock into the already turbulent atmosphere. The Earth would not just tremble, it would groan, crack, and erupt from within, a planet in agony as its very structure is torn apart by the impossible act of stopping its spin. Think of it like a giant ball of clay that has been spinning rapidly. If you suddenly grab the outer layer and stop it dead, but the inner, more fluid parts keep trying to spin, the clay itself would tear apart, crack, and contort into an unrecognizable shape. The Earth, though far more rigid than clay, would experience a similar, albeit vastly more powerful, internal and external structural failure. The consequences for the planet's topography would be immediate and profound. Land masses would separate, creating new oceans or vastly widening existing ones. The entire geological map of the world would be redrawn in an instant of unimaginable violence. The quiet stability we take for granted would be replaced by a landscape of utter geological chaos, a planet in the throes of a forced, violent recreation. Imagine, as you drift deeper into your restful state, the very ground beneath you twisting and breaking, continents splitting, and mountains rising and falling in an instant. Picture the Earth itself writhing, its inner layers struggling against the impossible external halt. This quiet, terrifying vision of Earth's internal inertia is the very fourth secret of what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning. It's a natural, unavoidable consequence of the fundamental laws of motion that govern everything in our universe, revealing the hidden power within the very ground we stand on. Let the image of our planet, internally tormented and outwardly shattered, settle peacefully in your mind. This is the origin story of our thought experiment's fourth, dramatic consequence, a journey that begins with the fundamental physics of our planetary home. Feel the quiet power of this hidden momentum within the Earth's deep layers, knowing that the very solidity you rely on is part of a colossal, dynamic system. Rest deeply now, with the gentle murmur of our Earth's inner turmoil, guiding you towards a truly peaceful slumber. Welcome back, peaceful traveler, as we continue our gentle exploration into what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning. In our last quiet chapter, we confronted the terrifying spectacle of continents shattering and internal layers tearing due to the immense shear forces between the abruptly stopped crust and the still spinning liquid outer core. Now, as you drift even deeper into your serene state, let us contemplate the profound and utterly devastating changes that would engulf our planet's very atmosphere and surface temperatures, the creation of endless day and perpetual night, leading to extreme temperature imbalances that would reshape our world. As you settle into your comfortable spot, feeling the quiet stillness of your surroundings, imagine the Earth's gentle, familiar cycle of day and night. Every 24 hours, your location, wherever you are, turns through the sunlight and then into the planet's shadow. This constant rhythmic rotation ensures that all parts of the Earth receive a relatively even distribution of sunlight and darkness over time, leading to the temperate zones and diverse climates we know. Now, picture that impossible moment again. The Earth suddenly ceases its rotation. If it were to stop completely, a crucial consequence would be that one entire hemisphere of the Earth would perpetually face the sun, bathed in its continuous, relentless light. Meanwhile, the opposite hemisphere would be plunged into perpetual darkness, forever facing away from the sun, staring out into the cold, black expanse of space. Think of it like this: if you shine a flashlight on one side of a ball and then stop spinning the ball, one side remains illuminated and the other remains in shadow. The Earth, fixed in its orbital path around the sun, would experience this extreme division. The consequences for temperature and climate would be catastrophic. The eternal day side. The hemisphere constantly exposed to the sun would experience an endless day. Without the Earth's rotation to spread the sun's heat evenly, temperatures in this sun-baked hemisphere would soar to unimaginable extremes. Days would become blisteringly hot, far beyond anything survivable. All the water on this side, from oceans and lakes, would rapidly evaporate, creating a thick, steamy atmosphere before it's swept away by the super hurricane winds we discussed earlier. The land would bake, turning into an arid, scorched desert. Eventually, temperatures could reach levels where the surface of the Earth becomes utterly uninhabitable, perhaps even melting rock in exposed areas from the relentless solar radiation. Reminiscent of the surface of Venus. Any moisture that remained would quickly boil away, leaving a desiccated landscape. The perpetual night side. Conversely, the hemisphere perpetually facing away from the sun would experience an endless night, plunged into eternal darkness, without any solar warmth. Temperatures here would plummet to extreme cold. Imagine temperatures far below anything experienced in Earth's polar regions, approaching the frigid cold of deep space. All the moisture, any remaining water, and even gases in the atmosphere, if they weren't swept away by the initial winds, would eventually freeze solid, forming vast sheets of ice and possibly even frozen air, blanketing the landscape in an unyielding, silent frigidity. Between these two extremes, there might exist a narrow twilight zone, a terminator line, where the perpetual day meets the perpetual night. In this narrow band, temperatures might be slightly more moderate, perhaps allowing for some liquid water. However, this zone would be characterized by constant violent weather patterns, as the superheated air from the day side clashes with the supercooled air from the night side, creating relentless, turbulent storms and powerful, localized winds, making it extremely inhospitable. The very atmosphere would become a furious battleground between extreme heat and cold. This immense temperature imbalance would fundamentally disrupt all of Earth's climate systems. The powerful convection currents that drive our weather patterns, distribute heat, and create comfortable climates rely on the Earth's continuous rotation to create Coriolis forces and distribute solar energy. Without this rotation, global wind patterns and ocean currents, if oceans still existed in their current form, would cease to function as they do now, leading to a completely alien and utterly uninhabitable climate. The familiar cycles of rain, evaporation, and cloud formation would break down entirely. Imagine, as you drift deeper into your restful state, our vibrant blue planet transformed into a stark, divided world. One side a scorching desert under an unending sun, the other a frozen wasteland shrouded in eternal darkness. Picture the stark, unwavering line separating these two extremes, a testament to the lost rhythm of day and night. This quiet, terrifying vision of a planet stripped of its rotational balance is the very fifth secret of what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning. It's a natural, unavoidable consequence of the fundamental laws of thermodynamics and planetary motion, revealing the hidden fragility of our temperate existence. Let the image of our planet, frozen on one side and scorched on the other, settle peacefully in your mind. This is the origin story of our thought experiment's fifth dramatic consequence, a journey that begins with the fundamental physics of our planetary home. Feel the quiet power of this hidden fragility within our climate, knowing that the very balance of your temperature is part of a colossal, dynamic system. Rest deeply now, with the gentle murmur of our Earth's lost rhythm, guiding you towards a truly peaceful slumber. Welcome back, peaceful traveler, as we continue our gentle exploration into what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning. In our last quiet chapter, we confronted the terrifying spectacle of endless day and perpetual night, leading to extreme temperature imbalances that would reshape our world. Now, as you drift even deeper into your serene state, let us consider another profound and devastating consequence, one that would strip our planet of its vital defense: the loss or severe weakening of Earth's protective magnetic field. This is a silent shield that, if removed, would expose all life to the harsh realities of outer space. As you settle into your comfortable spot, feeling the quiet stillness of your surroundings, imagine our Earth not just as a spinning sphere of rock and water, but as a colossal, majestic magnet in space. This immense, invisible magnetic field surrounds our planet, stretching thousands of miles out, acting as a crucial shield. Remember from our previous journeys that this powerful magnetic field is generated by the complex, dynamic movement of molten iron and nickel in Earth's liquid outer core. This continuous churning, driven by heat and the planet's rotation, creates powerful electric currents, which in turn generate the magnetic field through a process called the geodynamo. Now, picture that impossible moment. Again, the solid Earth crust and mantle abruptly stop spinning. What about the liquid outer core? Due to its tremendous inertia and its fluid nature, the molten iron and nickel in the outer core would attempt to continue spinning for a considerable time, perhaps even for millions of years, independently of the now stationary outer layers. This would create an unimaginable amount of friction and shear force between the stationary mantle and the still-moving liquid core. This catastrophic disruption would fundamentally alter the intricate geodynamo process. The dynamic, synchronized relationship between the Earth's rotation, which provides the Coriolis effect, influencing the fluid motion, and the convection currents in the outer core would be irrevocably broken. Without the steadying influence of the outer layers rotating in sync, or with the immense internal friction generated by the sudden halt, the complex fluid motions that create our magnetic field would become chaotic, eventually weakening or even completely dissipating the magnetic field over time. It wouldn't disappear instantaneously, but its ability to sustain itself would be severely compromised, leading to a rapid decline. Think of it like a carefully balanced spinning top. As long as it's spinning steadily, it remains upright. But if you suddenly stop the surface, it's on. The internal balance is lost, and it wobbles erratically before toppling. The Earth's magnetic field relies on that stable, rotating system. Without it, our planetary shield would collapse. The consequences of losing this protective magnetic field would be dire and far-reaching. Our Sun, while the source of life-giving light and warmth also constantly emits a stream of highly energetic, charged particles known as the solar wind. Beyond that, dangerous cosmic rays from distant galaxies continuously bombard our solar system. These particles are incredibly harmful. They can damage DNA, cause mutations, and are lethal to unprotected life. Without Earth's magnetic shield to deflect these dangerous particles, our planet would be directly exposed to this relentless, high-energy radiation from space. Radiation exposure. Any life remaining on the surface would be subjected to lethal doses of radiation. This would have catastrophic effects on all biological systems, leading to widespread cellular damage, disease, and eventually, extinction for most complex life forms. The surface of Earth would become a deeply inhospitable environment, like the barren surface of Mars, which lost most of its magnetic field billions of years ago. Atmospheric erosion. The continuous bombardment by the solar wind would gradually but relentlessly strip away Earth's atmosphere. Over millions of years, the solar wind would physically erode our protective blanket of air, much like it is believed to have stripped away Mars's early atmosphere. Without an atmosphere, liquid water cannot exist on the surface for long, as it would either freeze solid or boil away into space. The very air you breathe and the clouds that bring rain would slowly vanish into the cosmos. Water loss. As the atmosphere erodes, so too would our precious liquid water. With reduced atmospheric pressure, water would simply boil away into space or freeze solid in the perpetual night regions, further cementing Earth's transformation into a barren, lifeless rock. Imagine, as you drift deeper into your restful state, our vibrant blue planet slowly turning into a desolate, red-hued world, stripped bare of its protective layers. Picture the relentless stream of invisible, dangerous particles from the sun, bombarding a now exposed Earth, leaving nothing but a barren, irradiated landscape. This quiet, terrifying vision of a planet losing its magnetic defense is the very sixth secret of what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning. It's a natural, unavoidable consequence of the fundamental laws of physics that govern planetary dynamics, revealing the hidden fragility of our protected existence. Let the image of our planet, suddenly vulnerable and exposed to the harshness of space, settle peacefully in your mind. This is the origin story of our thought experiment's sixth, dramatic consequence. A journey that begins with the fundamental physics of our planetary home. Feel the quiet power of this hidden shield, knowing that the very protection you enjoy is part of a colossal, dynamic system. Rest deeply now, with the gentle murmur of our Earth's silent, fading shield, guiding you towards a truly peaceful slumber. Welcome back, peaceful traveler, as we continue our gentle exploration into what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning. In our last quiet chapter, we confronted the terrifying consequences of an abruptly halting Earth for its magnetic field, leading to the loss of its protective shield and exposure to harsh cosmic radiation. Now, as you drift even deeper into your serene state, let us confront the ultimate and most heartbreaking consequence of such a cataclysm, the overwhelming destruction of nearly all life on the planet. As you settle into your comfortable spot, feeling the quiet stillness of your surroundings, imagine our vibrant, living Earth, teeming with an astonishing diversity of life. From the microscopic organisms hidden in the soil to the colossal whales in the oceans, from the towering trees of ancient forests to every human being. All life on Earth is intricately adapted to the stable, rhythmic conditions provided by our planet's continuous spin. Now, Picture that impossible moment. Again, the Earth suddenly grinds to a halt. The immediate consequences for life would be swift, brutal, and almost universally devastating. First, consider the immediate physical impact. Remember the colossal force of inertia, the initial eastward fling. Any living creature not securely anchored to the planet's solid bedrock, which, as we discussed, would itself be shattering, would be instantly hurled eastward at speeds up to 1,000 miles per hour. This would mean instantaneous and violent disintegration for every human, every animal, every plant, every insect, and every microbe caught exposed on the surface. Imagine birds mid-flight, suddenly flung at supersonic speeds, or trees ripped from their roots and propelled into the sky. No biological structure could withstand such forces. Super hurricane winds. The colossal, super hurricane force winds, hundreds or even over 1,000 miles per hour, generated by the atmosphere's inertia, would sweep across continents. These winds would not just destroy physical structures, they would physically strip the surface bare. Any remaining organisms, even those initially sheltered, would be obliterated by the sheer force of the air. Breathing, as we noted, would be impossible. Global firestorm. The friction from these super-fast winds would ignite global wildfires, turning vast swathes of the planet into an inferno. Any life not already destroyed would be incinerated by this searing heat. Even organisms deep underground might not escape the radiating heat from the burning surface. Colossal tsunamis. The immense tsunamis, hundreds or thousands of feet high, generated by the ocean's inertia, would inundate continents, scouring everything in their path. Marine life in coastal areas would be instantly crushed or dislocated by these monstrous waves, while land-based life would be swept away and pulverized. The very water that sustains marine life would become its instrument of annihilation. Even if by some unimaginable miracle a small pocket of life survived these immediate, violent events, the long-term environmental changes would ensure the widespread extinction of anything complex. Extreme temperatures. The creation of an eternal day hemisphere and a perpetual night hemisphere would lead to unbearable temperature extremes. The day side would scorch to hundreds of degrees Fahrenheit or Celsius, baking any remaining moisture and rendering the land utterly desolate. The night side would plummet to hundreds of degrees below zero, freezing any remaining water and making biological processes impossible. Most life forms, exquisitely adapted to Earth's current temperature ranges, would simply cease to function. Radiation exposure. The loss of Earth's magnetic field would expose the planet to lethal levels of solar radiation and cosmic rays. For any organisms that somehow persisted, this constant bombardment would lead to widespread cellular damage, genetic mutations, and rampant disease. Life, as we know it, cannot endure such levels of unfiltered radiation. Atmospheric erosion. The gradual stripping away of Earth's atmosphere by the solar wind would lead to a slow, suffocating death. For any aerobic organisms, those that breathe oxygen, as the atmosphere thins, air pressure would drop, making liquid water unstable on the surface, further desiccating the planet. Consider the intricate web of life on Earth. Every ecosystem, every food chain, every biological process is finely tuned to the current conditions, the 24-hour day-night cycle, the stable seasons, the protective atmosphere, and the liquid water. A sudden halt to Earth's rotation would violently shatter every single one of these fundamental conditions, leaving no time for adaptation. What minuscule forms of life might possibly survive? Perhaps some extremophiles, bacteria and archaea dwelling deep within the Earth's crust, miles below the surface, insulated from the immediate physical forces and perhaps less reliant on surface conditions. Or perhaps certain types of deeply buried microbes that could subsist on geothermal energy or very simple chemical reactions, isolated from the chaos. But for the vast, complex, multicellular life that graces our planet, from plants to animals to humans, the prognosis would be one of near total annihilation. The Earth would be transformed from a vibrant, living world into a silent, barren, geologically fractured, and climatically extreme sphere, a monument to a lost rhythm. Imagine, as you drift deeper into your restful state, our beautiful, bustling Earth falling silent, its ecosystems collapsing, its vibrant colors fading into barren landscapes. Picture the planet as a profound testament to the delicate balance that sustains life, a balance so easily disrupted by the absence of its spin. This quiet, terrifying vision of life's abrupt end is the very seventh secret of what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning. It's a natural, unavoidable consequence of the fundamental laws of physics that govern planetary dynamics, revealing the hidden fragility of our existence. Let the image of our planet, suddenly stripped of its life, settle peacefully in your mind. This is the origin story of our thought experiment's seventh, dramatic consequence, a journey that begins with the fundamental physics of our planetary home. Feel the quiet power of this hidden fragility within life itself, knowing that the very existence you enjoy is part of a colossal, dynamic system. Rest deeply now, with the gentle murmur of our Earth's lost vitality, guiding you towards a truly peaceful slumber. Welcome back, peaceful traveler. As we continue our gentle exploration into what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning. In our last quiet chapter, we confronted the heartbreaking reality of the overwhelming destruction of nearly all life on the planet due to the immediate and long-term catastrophic consequences. Now, as you drift even deeper into your serene state, let us contemplate a more gradual, yet equally profound transformation that would reshape the very form of our planet itself. The effects of gravity and the redistribution of its mass, leading Earth to become a more perfect sphere and fundamentally altering its oceans and land masses. As you settle into your comfortable spot, feeling the quiet stillness of your surroundings, imagine the Earth as it is right now. Our planet is not a perfect sphere. Due to its continuous, rapid rotation, a powerful outward force called centrifugal force is generated. This force is strongest at the equator and diminishes towards the poles. Think of spinning a ball of soft clay. As it spins faster, it tends to bulge out at its middle. Similarly, Earth's spin causes it to bulge slightly at the equator and be flattened at the poles. This slight equatorial bulge means the Earth is technically an oblate spheroid, not a perfect sphere. The Earth's equatorial diameter is about 26 miles, 43 kilometers greater than its polar diameter. Now, picture that impossible moment. Again, the Earth suddenly ceases its rotation. With the abrupt halt of its spin, the powerful centrifugal force that created the equatorial bulge would instantly vanish. Without this outward push, the Earth's own immense gravity would become the sole dominant force shaping the planet's form. Gravity, always seeking to pull all matter towards the center of mass, would relentlessly work to pull the equatorial bulge inward, striving to reshape Earth into a more perfect, albeit slightly smaller, sphere. This process wouldn't be instantaneous. It would unfold over vast geological timescales, perhaps millions of years. as the Earth's malleable interior slowly adjusts. The molten layers, the semi-solid mantle, and even the somewhat flexible crust would gradually respond to the overwhelming pull of gravity, attempting to achieve a state of true spherical equilibrium. The planet would slowly, subtly, shrink a tiny bit at the equator and expand at the poles. A cosmic sigh as it settles into a new, rotationless form. But the most dramatic and immediate visual consequence of this reshaping would be the redistribution of Earth's oceans. The current distribution of water on our planet is largely dictated by the combination of gravity and the centrifugal force from Earth's spin. The equatorial bulge means that water at the equator is actually slightly further from the Earth's center of mass than water at the poles, due to the outward push of the spin. If the Earth stopped spinning, the water in the oceans, no longer held out by centrifugal force at the equator, would begin to migrate. Gravity would pull the ocean waters towards the points closest to the Earth's center of mass. And where are these points now? Without the equatorial bulge, they would be at the poles. Imagine the colossal shift the ocean waters would slowly, inexorably, begin to flow away from the former equatorial regions and accumulate around the North and South poles. This would create two vast, deep, new oceans at each pole, potentially covering land masses that are currently far inland, like parts of North America, Europe, and Asia if they were to become polar in this new configuration. Conversely, the land masses around the former equator, now stripped of their water, would rise up, forming a colossal dry and immensely wide continental band girdling the entire planet. This would create a completely alien planetary landscape. The familiar shapes of our continents and oceans would be utterly transformed. The current coastlines would become ancient geological markers, thousands of miles from the new shores. The Earth, once spinning and bulging, would settle into a quieter, more perfectly spherical form, but at the cost of a completely redistributed geography of land and water. The very concept of sea level would be redefined in a catastrophic and fundamental way. Think of the environmental consequences of such a transformation. The creation of two polar oceans and one massive equatorial landmass would completely alter global climate patterns already devastated by the perpetual day-night. New mountain ranges might form as land masses adjust, and existing ones might subside. The sheer scale of the water's migration would be a process unfolding over millions of years, leaving behind a truly alien world. Imagine, as you drift deeper into your restful state, our familiar blue marble slowly squeezing and reshaping itself, its oceans draining away from the middle and pooling at the top and bottom. Picture a world where vast new inland seas emerge near the poles, and a colossal dry supercontinent stretches endlessly around the equator. This quiet, profound vision of gravitational reshaping is the very eighth secret of what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning. It's a natural, unavoidable consequence of the fundamental laws of physics, revealing the hidden fragility of our current planetary geography. Let the image of our planet, slowly transforming into a new, more perfectly spherical shape with radically altered oceans and land, settle peacefully in your mind. This is the origin story of our thought experiment's eighth dramatic consequence, a journey that begins with the fundamental physics of our planetary home. Feel the quiet power of this hidden reshaping, knowing that the very ground you stand on is part of a colossal dynamic system, whose form is a delicate balance of forces. Rest deeply now, with the gentle murmur of our Earth's slow, gravitational transformation, guiding you towards a truly peaceful slumber. Welcome back, peaceful traveler. As we continue our gentle exploration into what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning, we've journeyed through the immediate cataclysms of inertia, the terrifying transformation of the atmosphere into super hurricane winds, the unleashing of colossal tsunamis, the shattering of continents due to internal forces, the establishment of eternal day and perpetual night with extreme temperatures, the loss of Earth's protective magnetic field, and the overwhelming destruction of nearly all life, followed by the gradual gravitational reshaping of the planet and the redistribution of its oceans. Now, as you drift even deeper into your serene state, let us conclude our journey by considering a surprising aspect of this impossible scenario: how the Earth's sudden halt would not affect its orbit around the Sun. This reveals a beautiful distinction between two very different types of cosmic motion. As you settle into your comfortable spot, feeling the quiet stillness of your surroundings, imagine our Earth, this entire majestic planet, engaged in two primary, simultaneous movements in space. First, it spins on its axis, like a top, giving us our days and nights. This is the motion we've imagined abruptly stopping. Second, it orbits the Sun, tracing out a vast elliptical path around our star, giving us our year and our seasons. Now, picture that impossible moment. Again, the Earth's axial spin grinds to an instantaneous halt. While this would unleash unimaginably destructive forces upon the planet's surface and within its layers, the crucial point to understand is that this stopping of the spin would not directly or immediately affect the Earth's orbital motion around the Sun. Think of it like a spinning top that you push across a floor. The top is both spinning on its axis and moving forward across the floor. If you were to suddenly stop the top from spinning with your finger, it would cease its rotation, but it would still continue to slide forward across the floor due to its forward momentum, until friction eventually brought it to a halt. The rotational motion and the translational forward motion are distinct and governed by different sets of forces and principles. In the case of the Earth, its orbital motion around the Sun is governed primarily by two immense forces: the Sun's immense gravity. This is the powerful, invisible tether that constantly pulls the Earth inward towards the Sun, preventing it from flying off into deep space. Earth's orbital inertia forward velocity. This is the tremendous speed at which Earth is constantly moving sideways as it falls around the Sun, always trying to go in a straight line. It's this combination of falling towards the Sun while simultaneously moving sideways that keeps Earth in its perpetual orbit. The stopping of Earth's axial spin would not alter either of these fundamental forces. The Sun's gravitational pull would remain exactly the same, and Earth's immense forward velocity in its orbit around the Sun would remain unchanged. The planet, now tragically quiet in its rotation, would continue its vast, silent journey around the Sun, taking approximately 365 days to complete 1 year, just as it always has. This distinction highlights a profound elegance in the universe's mechanics. The forces and initial conditions that govern a body's rotation are largely independent of the forces and conditions that govern its orbital motion around a much larger central body. While Earth's rotation and the resulting centrifugal force does subtly influence its precise shape and the distribution of its oceans, it is not the primary driver of its yearly journey around the Sun. That is a dance orchestrated by the Sun's gravity and Earth's forward momentum through space. So, for any hypothetical survivors who might endure the initial cataclysm on a now motionless Earth, they would still experience the cycle of seasons, albeit in a dramatically altered way. The Sun would still appear to move across the sky over the course of a year, slowly tracking from one equinox point to the solstice extremes, because the Earth would still be revolving around the Sun, even if it wasn't turning on its own axis. The day side would remain illuminated for half a year, and the night side would remain in darkness for the other half, as Earth makes its journey around the Sun. Imagine, as you drift deeper into your restful state, our Earth, now a stationary ball in terms of its spin, yet still gracefully, silently, orbiting the distant Sun. Picture it continuing its long, annual journey through the cosmic void, a poignant reminder that some cosmic rhythms are too grand, too fundamental, to be easily disrupted by even the most catastrophic internal changes. This quiet, persistent orbital motion, even in the face of planetary stillness, is the very ninth secret of what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning. It's a natural, unavoidable consequence of the fundamental laws of physics that govern celestial mechanics, revealing the enduring elegance of our place in the solar system. Let the image of our planet, quiet in its rotation yet steadfast in its orbit, settle peacefully in your mind. This is the origin story of our thought experiment's final, poignant observation, a journey that reveals the distinctions and enduring nature of cosmic motion. Feel the quiet power of these separate, yet intertwined, movements, knowing that the very existence you enjoy is part of a colossal, dynamic system. Rest deeply now, with the gentle murmur of our Earth's unchanging orbit, guiding you towards a truly peaceful slumber. Welcome back, beloved dreamer, for one final gentle whisper from the sleepy scientist. We have journeyed together through a truly astonishing thought experiment, softly unraveling the profound mystery of what would happen if Earth suddenly stopped spinning. We began by confronting the immediate, cataclysmic forces of inertia, which would fling everything on the surface eastward. We then witnessed the terrifying transformation of the atmosphere into super hurricane winds, igniting global firestorms, and the unleashing of colossal tsunamis by the oceans. Our exploration delved into the very ground beneath our feet, understanding how the shattering of continents and internal layers would occur due to immense shear forces. We contemplated the profound environmental changes brought by eternal day and perpetual night, leading to extreme temperature imbalances. We then considered the devastating consequence of the loss of Earth's protective magnetic field, exposing life to harsh cosmic radiation, and the heartbreaking reality of the overwhelming destruction of nearly all life. Our journey concluded by exploring the gradual gravitational reshaping of the planet and the redistribution of its oceans, followed by the surprising truth that Earth's sudden halt would not affect its orbit around the Sun, highlighting the distinct nature of these cosmic motions. As you lie here, fully relaxed, perhaps feeling the gentle pull of sleep drawing you deeper, let all these insights coalesce into a single, profound understanding. The scenario of Earth suddenly stopping its spin, while a fascinating thought experiment reveals a deep and humbling truth: our very existence, the conditions that allow us to live, breathe, and flourish on this beautiful planet are intricately dependent upon a delicate, dynamic balance of forces and motions. The Earth's continuous, steady rotation is not just a geological fact, it is the fundamental rhythm that orchestrates nearly every aspect of our habitable world. Think of the precious equilibrium this spin provides. It gives us our reliable cycle of day and night, ensuring even distribution of solar warmth. It contributes to the Earth's very shape, affecting ocean distribution. It drives the powerful geodynamo that creates our protective magnetic field. It generates the atmospheric circulation that moderates our climate and brings life-giving rain. Every breath you take, every landscape you admire, every temperate climate you enjoy, is a direct consequence of our planet's graceful, continuous pirouette in space. This journey through cosmic hypothetical scenarios isn't just about learning scientific facts. It's about connecting with the raw, untamed power and the incredible balance of our planet. It reminds us that what we perceive as stable and unchanging is, in fact, a thin, dynamic skin atop a churning, energetic interior, constantly in motion, ceaselessly evolving. We are, quite literally, living on a moving, breathing world, and its rhythms are the very foundation of our being. This deep connection to Earth's fundamental dynamics can evoke not fear, but a profound sense of awe and respect for the forces that shape our world and make life possible. There is a deep serenity in this knowledge. To understand the elegant processes that govern our planet's spin and the catastrophic consequences if it were to cease is to find a sense of calm in the immense power of our universe. It's to realize that even in the face of such raw force, there is profound order and intricate design. The Earth doesn't move on whims or chance. It follows timeless, predictable principles. And within that predictability, there is a gentle, comforting rhythm, a deep pulse that has vibrated for billions of years and will continue to do so for eons to come. Our spinning Earth is a fundamental part of this grand, ongoing planetary symphony, and we are privileged to exist within its harmonious melody. So, as your mind quiets and your body grows heavy with peaceful sleep, take a moment to reflect on this profound understanding of our dynamic Earth. Imagine yourself as a small, yet integral, part of this vast cosmic dance, feeling the quiet certainty that the ground beneath you, constantly turning, is a living, evolving part of a greater one, powerful system that tirelessly sustains you. Our planet is a magnificent, self-regulating entity, and its spin is a vital manifestation of its continuous, energetic life. This knowledge isn't meant to keep you awake with wonder, but to lull you into a deeper, more profound state of rest, knowing that the very ground you sleep upon is a story of magnificent, ongoing harmony, constantly orchestrated by the spin of our world. Let the quiet certainty of these scientific truths become a soothing lullaby. Feel the profound connection between your own stillness and the silent, majestic movements of our planet. The very stability of your home, the rhythm of your days and nights, the protection from cosmic forces, all are part of this incredible, ongoing planetary symphony. There is no need to grasp or to strive. Simply let go and allow the universe's inherent order and the Earth's enduring dynamism to carry you into a peaceful, dream-filled slumber, guided by the gentle, everlasting story of our spinning Earth.